it felt like someone just had me like this and they were ripping. And I was like, get me. I didn't want to be in my body. I was like, get me out of my body. And so it took me, it was like just a trial and error thing. It was like, okay, when I relax, it hurts, but I feel better. When I tense up, ooh, it's unbearable. Okay, relax. It hurts, but it feels better. And so it was just these waves of learning how to surrender.
Hey everyone, today I'm super excited to welcome Zen Oasis into the Celestevolve Podcast. Welcome, Zen. How are you doing today?
I am doing absolutely amazing and so excited and happy to be here.
So, is your real name Zen Oasis?
No, so Zen Oasis means a peaceful place of refuge. And I chose that name. I don't know if you know that I've been a pole dancer for 10 years, just teaching, traveling, and all of that good stuff. So in pole, we choose a stage name. And I chose Zen Oasis as my stage name a couple of years ago.
Oh, beautiful. Oasis is, in the desert. It's the water that you see in the desert. So, that's amazing.
Yes, you know how they say like meditation is a practice of presence. Pole legitimately is my meditation.
Wow. So, tell me, how did you, or what inspired you to become a medicine woman? And how has this journey changed your healing practice?
So it chose me. I definitely did not choose it, or I didn't consciously choose it, right? Because we're doing all the things. I didn't consciously choose it, but I honestly thought that I was going to be a world renowned performer dancing on stage with different artists and things of that nature. That's what I wanted to do. And I got the opportunity a couple of years ago, before I got deep into my medicine womanhood, to perform on stage with Snoop Dogg. So
Whoa.
big arena, all of that good stuff. It was amazing. But once it was over, my spirit was like, this is what you wanted. You did it. Okay. And it was just one of those moments where it was just like, there has to be more than this. Like, okay, well, this is what this is. There has to be more. And I was already in my healing work at the time, but I hadn't gotten deep into medicine womanhood. So after that, it was just like, so I did it, and I don't think this is actually what I want to do with my life. So I had a spiritual sister I was already doing, that was working for me on my pole dancing retreats as healer. And both of us at the same time received the message that we would be working with the medicine psilocybin. Before then, I hadn't really sat with the medicine, hadn't connected with it much, but I received, you are to sit with this medicine. And as I sat with it, both of us, we started to just hold space for one another. And to say that the way the medicine started to work within me, it blew me out of the water. Seeing things I didn't know were possible to see, the ancestral connection, and then even seeing the the healing power of the medicine. Prior to that, I knew that people held psilocybin ceremonies, but I was so accustomed to people using it recreationally and being like, I'm going on a trip. I saw spaceships, I saw stars and galaxies and all of that good stuff. So, I didn't know the healing power of that medicine and how it could really just reach in and help you transmute trauma. So when we started to work with one another, we were, it's just funny how everything happens. We were given like a crash course, generational trauma healing 101. First, you're going to do it for each other. And then after that, we decided to start holding ceremonies together after we got accustomed to it. And through that, just the things that happened were miraculous. I was honestly blown out of the water with the healing that we saw. And that took me deeper into it. My first medicine was ayahuasca, and that was just healing myself. sitting with it for a couple of months. And even that was amazing. But I'll say like ayahuasca was the mother, and then psilocybin came in as a partner, and like the sage more so. Ayahuasca was the mother teacher. Psilocybin came in as like the, okay, now we're in school, and let me teach you how to be like me, and teach you what I can actually do for people.
Not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
There are some of these misconceptions like that. And I feel like, okay, this probably won't work. Why do I feel that way? And what's the truth?
Okay, so I'll say that one, societal conditioning as to a lack of knowledge and a lack of, not just you, but just people, because many people have those thoughts and those feelings about the medicine. But these medicines, these medicines have their own intelligence. I look at them, and we would classify them as entheogens. They're called psychedelics, but we would classify them as entheogens. When I say them, speaking to ayahuasca, psilocybin, hape, medicines like bufo and iboga, maybe another one that we would classify as an entheogen. And an entheogen is a medicine that has a naturally occurring earth substance or plant that has the capacity to alter our consciousness. So I presume that many people look at it as something that can be an addictive substance because of the way, perhaps because of marijuana. I mean, we can look at marijuana as an entheogen as well, but it's a plant that has been misused, that has been altered in its composition and things of that nature. But with these medicines specifically, there are indigenous tribes that take these medicines as children. And even the mothers with the babies in their womb, these medicines are parts of their everyday life. So in Western culture and Western society, we're just now, I say just now, but in for the mass of us who are awakening to the power of just our spirituality, we're just now coming into a deeper understanding of the way that these medicines, for so many of us, are actually already part of our DNA. But knowledge of how to use the medicine, I'll say in so many ways, has been beat out of many of us through fear, through actual physical harm, in ancestry and in lineage. And then also, a lot of these medicines and indigenous practices, period, have been ostracized through religious ideology. So I'll say number one, per the way that I look at it, it's been religion-based ideology that has come in and said to be afraid of anything that you don't know, of anything that you can't can't prove, almost through the text of a book. But so knowing that our holy books in whatever religion are written in ways that have just so much esoteric symbology, I wouldn't be shocked if the books speak about these medicines specifically. So, but just in encoded ways. I'm praying that I answered your question. I'm praying that I got to it, but it's like I'm just saying whatever I feel needs to be said. But with these medicines, the fear I feel around it on a human perspective, but what I notice with people who come to us who desire the healing, who are curious about the medicine, there's also an egoic level of fear. And this is what I've noticed is in women who sign up and they say, yes, I want to do it, some of them back out. But what I pick up on is these medicines cause a level of ego death. And with that, then there comes this level of fear. And it seems like a human level fear. It projects as a human level fear. But And plant medicine is not for everybody, I'll say that. But when the medicine calls to you, and there's a part of you that knows you're going to be shifted, you're going to be changed, you will never be the same. There's an aspect of the ego that now can feel, oh, I'm not going to be present anymore. So then there becomes all of these other fear voices that may come up in way of resistance to connecting with what's already in our DNA.
You know, I watched a reel recently where there was a lady who was making medicines like cough syrups for fever, flu, etc., using everyday things, ginger, garlic, and so on. And then she's saying that plant plants are not alternate medicine; they are the original medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me think, really? And you know, I started looking it up because once I started doing yoga, my yoga teacher talks about going to an Ayurvedic doctor. Ayurvedic doctor, they are also into plants and they do those, their healing is that level. In Western medicine, we go to a doctor once we have really messed up and then we have no other choice but just surgery. It's like, you know, I think it's in one of the podcasts that you were on where they said that hospitals are trauma centers, but Ayurveda is where they say that there are around 7 signs on a daily basis where you can assess your body and figure out what's happening. Disease doesn't have to be a common thing, but right now we are at a stage where everybody thinks that having diseases and falling sick is very normal. It's not normal. It doesn't have to be normal. It can be completely avoided. And then I read somewhere that plants, you cannot patent, I guess I'm using the word right. You cannot patent plants. Like if I say that, okay, I can just heal. I bought a ginger candy, okay? It's very cheap. I can get 10 candies from this Ayurvedic store for just 1 dirham, which is just, I don't know, very less, much, not even just a few cents only. So you can get all of that. And I thought it wouldn't work because I'm like, okay, you know, you have strepsils and you've got cough syrups that you pay a lot of money for. So I thought it won't work. I was surprised that it works. And the way you make ginger candy is you just grind ginger and then you take jaggery, you melt it, and you make a candy out of it. That's it. Very cheap, something you can do at home. And I was surprised it worked. And then I heard that if the big pharma, they try to sell, they cannot sell ginger and they cannot sell jaggery and monetize off of it, right? So
Right.
they have to make something like ginger, like jaggery, and then they have to make something, then they will put a big profit price out of it, and that's how they sell it to you. So it's like this, every, you know, probably that must be one of the reasons why we are afraid of plants. I'm afraid of planting. I think it won't work. I didn't think Ayurvedic doctors can actually heal. I thought they were just like, okay, whatever, you know, it's just they can saying whatever. There's no actual science, there's no research papers written out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be one of the reasons why whoever is behind it has done such a good job at making us fear plants and
Absolutely.
fear the medicines. So, my question to you is, when we say plant medicine, right? Are all plants medicinal in purposes? What exactly is plant medicine? You know, I'm just going back to the super basic. What exactly is plant medicine?
I would say that I don't believe that source would put anything on this earth that didn't have a purpose. So, especially speaking to plants, I have a yard full of weeds, but we call them weeds because I've been conditioned to know them as weeds. But these weeds in my yard are dandelion, which is good for blood pressure. They're clover, which is good for gut health, I want to say. So I have not come across a plant that does not have some medicinal purpose. And that's the difference, well, I'll say, between like a plant medicine and an entheogen, right? As we spoke about, like the entheogens alter the consciousness. As I'm sitting right here, I have a mini apothecary full of just plants that do, in honestly even more potent ways, what the prescription drugs do. So I would say, just in basic terms, plant medicine is or even just being a medicine woman, because being a medicine woman, it doesn't mean that you have to work with mind altering substance, but working with the plants. It's working with the spirit of the plant. The medicine is in the spirit of the plant. Even though we use the physical, the thing that we can touch, we use the seeds, we use the leaves, we use the blades of the grass or whatever it is, but the medicine is in the energy that the plant is able to emit, and then the way that the plant connects with our bodies, because we and the plant are one and the same. So we'll say plant medicine is in any way, shape, or form, whether that be through cooking, whether that be through creating a ginger candy, whether that be through creating a tincture, or just making a tea. It's in whatever way a person decides to put the spirit of the plant together in order to help heal the mind, body, spirit in whatever way.
Makes sense. You spoke about the first time you did ayahuasca and it changed your perception. Can you go deeper into what actually happened and how is the ceremony like?
Yeah. So I'm so glad that you asked me that question. My first experiences with ayahuasca, I had never actually sat in a ceremony before. So going into the ceremony, my family, my family is heavily Christian. So going into a ceremony where we're in circle, where there are candles, where there are morties and statues of deities, I was like, what in the cult is this? I was like, what kind of cult did I just walk myself into? But I had no life recognition of, I had just never been in ceremony before. So sitting in ceremony, this was my experience. This will not be everyone's experience in ceremony, right? But you've got the shaman or the maestro, or you've got the maestra. I sat with a husband and wife that were maestro and maestra. They sing over the medicine, and singing over the medicine, they're singing what's called icaros. So not necessarily in English, but in whatever light language, or in Christianity we call it tongues. Whatever tongues or what light language comes out, and they're singing over the medicine. Prior to ceremony, we had the opportunity to talk to the maestro and just talk to him about our life circumstance. And in that, he's able to just get a feel for what the work might be, what the body of work might be. And as they're singing over the medicine, what was shared with me is they're singing for each individual person over your cup. So whatever it was that came to them, whatever healing you may have needed, they're singing intention and calling in assistance, but singing specifically over your cup for you, and then singing for the group as well. They sing their own cups. We receive our cups. We speak intention into our own medicine as well. And I'll say my first couple of ceremonies, I had no idea what to speak. So I was like, just give me what I need. And then we drank. My first, so I shared with you, I sat with ayahuasca about 20 ceremonies. My first 4 ceremonies or so were pretty light because of where I was. These medicines are so intelligent. They're going to give you what you need, but they're also going to give you what you can handle. This was something that was so new to me. I had never had a big psychedelic experience. So the medicine was really gentle with me, but it did indeed pin me to the ground. And when I say pin me to the ground, it felt like, so inside of the ceremony, everyone was laying down, the lights are off, and they recommend that you keep your eyes closed and just go within. They're singing throughout the entire ceremony, but the song itself is also medicine. So as they're singing, you can feel the song almost like pulling and shifting things through the body. So the instruction was lay down, keep your eyes closed, whatever happens inside of you, if it feels like it's necessary for you to explore, go into it, investigate. But if it feels like you're starting to drift away, come back to the song to reconnect to the medicine and reconnect to what's going on. So my first experiences, it was a lot of drifting. But the songs were pulling up so much emotion that I hadn't allowed myself to feel. I wasn't a feeler before then. I didn't know I wasn't feeling. I didn't know there was anything to feel. But the first thing that came up was a lot of guilt. And the guilt felt like pins and needles just sitting on top of my skin. And then after guilt, there was shame, and then there was regret, and there were just all of these different emotions coming up, and so many things about my family and the way that I wanted to show up and things of that nature. But as the ceremonies progressed, I my so much of my experience was being taken through the spectrum of emotion and what these emotions actually felt like in real time in the body, which was really honestly tough to experience because if you're someone who hasn't been a feeler and all of a sudden you start to feel, my instinct was to push away. It was like, I don't want to feel like what is this? But Mama Ayahuasca, for what I needed, she was like, look, either you're going to feel this or I'm going to give you something else to feel. And the something else to feel, she showed me what happens inside of a person's body when they resist. The resistance felt like I was being torn into. And that was just in those first ceremonies, when I would resist, it felt like someone just had me like this and they were ripping. And I was like, get me. I didn't want to be in my body. I was like, get me out of my body. And so it took me, it was like just a trial and error thing. It was like, okay, when I relax, it hurts, but I feel better. When I tense up, ooh, it's unbearable. Okay, relax. It hurts, but it feels better. And so it was just these waves of learning how to surrender during those first couple of ceremonies. And the beautiful thing about that I learned that came to me afterward was in my healing work, my gift was knowing how to feel and how to allow, one of my gifts rather, knowing how to transmute others' feelings and connecting with what was going on with them spiritually, emotionally in their life based off of recognizing feeling. But she had to teach me first, this is what it feels like.
Wow. Sounds like a very painful experience.
It was, it was, it was. I always say, I mean, and honestly, those were the lighter of my experiences. When people, again, everyone's experience is different, just depending on where you are and what you need. But I always share, she took me through it. She took me through the ringer, but with the work that I'm called to do and the way that I'm called just to serve my community and the collective and the women who come um, to just help work through their trauma, the things that people are carrying, I had to become strong enough to sit in a certain level of pain and be able to be present in it in order to hold on to myself while what the women who would come to work with me were going through was working through my body as well to be transmuted. So if not for her showing me, okay, this is painful, but it's actually worse when you don't just allow it. If she didn't show me and give me like just this crash course in guilt, trauma, hurt, sorrow, grief, one on one, this is what it feels like in the body, but these feelings are very okay, so ground. I had to learn how to do that so that I could, show up for the women who would come later on.
I thought that when you go do these kind of things, I thought you would be blissed out and like dancing or something, but this sounds like quite painful. I'm wondering, why did you keep going back 20 times?
So I've heard people say that they've had blissed out experiences. I have not quite yet. I did not have blissed out ayahuasca experiences. What I will say is, again, the medicine is so intelligent and she truly is like she's a divine grandmother. So it's like what I needed because of what I'm called to do. I didn't know the work that I was called to do when I first went to ayahuasca. I went because I had just got out of a toxic relationship and that man put me through it. So I went because I was in so much pain and I was just like, somebody get me out of here. What? I didn't want to hold that pain anymore, but I didn't know what I needed. So I'm like, man, I'm about to go to Costa Rica. Somebody just help me. I thought I went for myself and I did, but it was in, there was so much undoing. That relationship was just the catalyst, but prior to that, there was just years of me dishonoring myself, an entire lifetime of me dishonoring myself and not knowing myself. So it's like imagine that you're, I mean, I'm going to say, imagine that you're in the pits of hell and you've got to climb your way up in order to make it to the bliss. So that was my experience and getting through. It's like, there's no way over. It's through. I had to go through all of the pain in order to get there. But I'll say what kept me coming back is she would never end my ceremony on a low note. I would go through my painful experiences, but she would always end my ceremonies on just just with beauty and with affirmations, with knowing that all was well, that I'm beautiful, that life is beautiful, that it was going to be okay. The second and third time that I went back, I did say, why am I coming back here? But but when the medicine is calling, the medicine is calling. And she literally was just like, come back, come back, come back. There's more, there's more. It was my third process. So the processes are 4 ceremonies. It was my third process where I got deeper into the lineage work. And that was honestly, that was the most difficult process that I experienced, to where the maestro is knowing what's happening. Not everything, but just the energy of what's happening. The second ceremony of that process, when I came back for the third, he said, "Oh, I'm surprised you came back." And I almost didn't. There were so many things that I was shown and so much that I moved through that I was just like, ugh. But when I went back, it was the fourth ceremony of that process where I had my first blissed out experience. But it was like because of all the hard work, all the transmuting of the trauma, all the letting go, all the vomiting, my nervous system is still honestly shot a bit and afraid. Like I had to, after my ayahuasca experience, I didn't vomit for about 2 years because I told my body, you're not allowed to vomit. This hurts. We can't do this anymore. So I had to give myself, really work with my nervous system and give it permission to start to vomit again because it was traumatizing. so, so it was after just all working through my mother issues, ancestral things, seeing slavery things, working
You saw all
through,
that.
I saw all of it, seeing ancestors who had lost their children, sitting with ancestors who just all of the things that have happened to people of African descent in my lineage, seeing all of their pain and working through it, because depending on what you're called to do, there's only a certain level of bypassing that can be done. And so for me, there were feelings, emotions, stories in my lineage that needed to be reconciled. Somebody needed to see it, and somebody needed to sit with that energy to transmute it into something better. So after all of that, then that's when I was given just a vision of my future. And I was given a vision of this life that I'm living now. And after I received it, I was just like, just, so much hard work. I wanted to get up and dance. So yes, blissed out experience, but the medicine gives you what you desire. And I guess I wanted to work through the things on a subconscious level. I guess I wanted to.
When you said that after you got out of your toxic relationship, you traveled and you wanted like this healing to happen, I can understand, I can resonate with that because when I got out of a relationship that I was not interested in too, I knew there was something in my body that needed to be released. And when you are like, and I also come from a Christian Catholic background, I had no idea about any sort of healing. I don't even know about therapy, nothing. But I knew that there was something in the body that had to be released. I still don't know how to release it, but I'm feeling like once I started doing yoga, I could see something happening in the way. I mean, I can feel my body. I know that it would help my body get lighter. I'm not exactly sure what that is. So this feeling is what everybody is going through, and I know now so many people who are coming out of toxic relationships. And what I did that time is, because I didn't know what to do, I overworked. I worked out too hard. Then I tried to do different side hustles at the same time, because I didn't want to sit still. I didn't want to sit and think about things. I didn't want to cry it out. And I never cried. That's like the funny part, you know? Once all of these things happen, I just never let it out. So it keeps getting stuck in your body over and over again. And then it's like, then I started with therapy, and then the healing process started. For someone else who's coming through this, right? And I think ayahuasca sounds like a big step, and we are like still new to it. You also do other healing works. You talk about movements through which you can heal people. What could we do to start healing and releasing all of that trauma within ourselves?
Okay, so I'll start base level prior to even moving the body. What's happening right now and what has been happening for over 20 years is this mass divine feminine awakening. And when I say divine feminine, this doesn't only apply to people who are women born or people who are born with wombs and uteruses. It applies to the connection with the divine feminine principle within both people who are women born and then people who aren't. But for people who are women born, what's happening is there's something within us that's asking to be honored more deeply, asking to be seen, asking to be felt, asking to be heard. And so the base level method of healing is expression. Part of this, part of the feminine wounding, and this is across cross culturally, has been the stifling of self expression, the expression of desire, the expression of joy, the expression of pain, and just being under this very patriarchal system of expression and vulnerability equaling weakness. So that is like base level step one is before, sure, move the body, sure, do the medicine, but self expression in itself, that's an even allowing, like you said, you were like, I didn't cry. I started to go work. I started to work out, starting to do all of these physical things in order to mitigate the pain that's in the body in different ways. When truthfully, one of the core of the wounding is I have not felt safe enough to express myself. That's in expressing the grievances, but that's also, again, and it's a spectrum, expressing the grievances, but also expressing the depths of joy and passion and truly grounding into wild womanhood, wanting to just take it all off and dance and sing and play. But there's a certain level of vulnerability in that. And so those, what so many women are feeling in their body, like this thing that wants to be released. Yes, the tears. Yes, the pain. But I would say on a deeper level, base level healing is for this divine feminine awakening is allowing the depths of expression to come up because it's bubbling up and it is wanting to just, it's wanting to be free. So that's number one. Okay, then two, yes, movement. So what honestly, on the simplest, you do yoga, so now I'm sure you can feel, or I would ask if you can feel the way that the energy is starting to move through your body as you just free up your joints. Our joints carry so much tension, and they show us, like, the flexibility of the joints demonstrates to us our flexibility in life, how much we're willing to move, what we're holding on to, and how deeply we're surrendered to change. So, although, yes, sacred medicine woman, but I incorporate my movement practice into it as well. And so much of it for women specifically is loosening up the hips. We carry so much in our hips, lower back, and in our sacral. The sacral is the center of creation, period. But in our sacral chakra, this is where we house the energy of relationship. Not just relating romantically, but relating to anything in our world. So the way, and it's also it's one of our centers of expression, the throat and the sacral. Even when we think about this, like not even just metaphysically, but physically, the lining of the throat mirrors the lining of the womb. So in these ways, these are our two centers of in and out with expression, this way through vocalizing, and then through the womb through actual birthing of our creations. So base level, what I would say, twirl the hips, move your neck. In that,
Hmm.
just loosening up, loosening physically, physically loosening up the throat, and then physically loosening up the hips will allow so much stuck energy to start to move through. But when it happens, I'd say be open to the way now that that energy desires to express itself.
Hmm. I love that. I was thinking while you were talking about movement that pole dancing, belly dancing, all of this has been highly hypersexualized, right? Were these movements that began as healing?
I believe that all movement began as healing. Of course, I don't know the history of it exactly, but when we think about movement itself, connecting with our bodies is a way, the way of grounding the higher wisdom and the higher knowing into the physical. Our bodies themselves are representations of our energy fields, our karma, our impressions, ancestral impressions, all of these things in motion. So through movement in itself, it's like one movement is an act of devotion. Devotion itself is healing, but devotion to the divine, devotion to self, and then also what's coming to me is this deep connection to nature, to the mother, to earth herself, because our bodies are made of everything that the earth is made of. So in that, it's impossible for movement itself not to be connected to healing, even when it's sexualized. With I stepped away from the pole for almost 2 years and I'm reconnected with it now. I stepped away from it because something within me was like, this is too sexualized and you don't want to be that person. I needed to, and even when I say that now, you don't want to be that person, I'm like, what is that person? What is that? I needed to integrate my divine femininity on a deeper level that wasn't necessarily connected to my sexuality, so that I could then come back and accept the sensuality of what it means to ground into divine womanhood and wild womanhood. I had to come back into it from a place that wasn't attention seeking, that wasn't concerned with being sexy, because
Hmm.
I was I was trying to do sexy and to do femininity inside of my dancing, but it's different. And I just get this visual of just belly dancing is so freaking beautiful to me. The Thinking about even the way that the belly and the hips are activated, there is no way that that is not moving energy on a mass level. But coming back to connecting to these things with no intention other than to self devotion. And now I look at the dance as an offering, and that in itself moves the energy in a different way, which gives it more of a healing quality. Yes.
When you said that I wanted to step away from this sexual person or whatever that person is, it makes sense to me because, when I started doing this Instagram, I was also trying to be this very fashionable person. And then I kind of got fed up of it. I'm like, what am I trying to do? Who is this person? I don't, it's like I have to wear the latest, what's just dropped by the new WT makeup palette, or the eyeshadow palette, or this is what's the new thing that's trending. And I'm trying to be someone who is very sexy and very feminine and etc. 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 And then I got fed up of trying to get all of these external validation from people. So it resonates with me when you say that you had to step away just to find out what you are still trying to do. And I feel like a lot of people on the planet are going through that. When you talk about your clients who are coming for these ceremonies, do you see a trend? Do you see only women? Do you see a lot of men coming? What is predominantly the trauma that they're all trying to heal?
So I work predominantly with people of African descent. That's what comes to me. The medicine is for everyone, but those are the people that come to me. Before I go too deeply into that, I just wanted to touch on just touching agreements and what you said about coming on the social media and trying to trying to do trying to do the look. Part of this divine feminine awakening is learning how to be and not how to do. To step away from the doing and then coming into like what's truly authentic expression as a way like that the divine wants to express itself through us. And even in makeup artistry is absolutely a divine expression. You starting the podcast, a divine expression. Sacred beauty is a divine expression, but it's different when it's something that you're trying to do versus this is truly in my spirit, it's in my heart, and in this way I show up this way because this is just who I am. So I feel like as as women born people specifically, we're learning what's authentic and what's not. How am I putting on a mask and what's really real? So perfectly segueing in, I work with people mostly of African descent because that's just who comes to our ceremonies, but the medicine is absolutely open to anyone. But I would say like the traumas are taking off the mask. There's just so much inauthenticity, but it's conditioning, it's social conditioning, it's religious conditioning. Um, a lot of the work that we've been doing or that we've done over the past year was a lot of feminine wounding, the mother wounds, the sister wounds, relationship wounds, dishonor of their divine femininity, a lot
Which
of
wound?
cleansing. Say that again.
The witch wound.
Which wounds? Our Bali trip. Every woman who signed up for that trip, and we had just the most diverse group that we've ever had. I love when we have a diverse group. We had the most diverse culturally group that we've ever had in Bali. And every single one of those women was a priestess who just didn't know that she was a priestess. And there was this undoing of all of the voices, people who have of society, of media, of all of these things that say your power is evil, your power is demonic, your power is of the devil. Um, and so much of the work has been helping these women reacquaint themselves with with their magic, with their medicine, and then honestly with their lineages. No, few people come to our ceremonies without connecting with their ancestors. This honestly is a portal that just opens. So few people come without experiencing some level of ancestral connection, and in that they get to experience a different level of protection, safety, grounding within who they are, and then are able to integrate into daily life, just feeling more empowered, truly knowing that they're not alone.
I recently did a cacao ceremony, okay? The first time I did it, it was a complete failure because what happened was we started having cacao and then the bonfire, the campfire that was put in front of us, it erupted in flames. So the whole ceremony didn't happen. Do you think there is a message there? I kept asking that all the time. Do you think the cacao is like pissed off with us or something?
You know,
Who was it?
you know, I can't say whether the cacao was pissed off at you all or not. What I will, what I will repeat is these medicines are intelligent, and
Yeah.
also there are so many different things that could be happening. It could have also just been a level of protection as
Hmm.
well, because
Mm.
even though cacao is, it has lighter effects, it's still opening energies, it's still opening up energies, it still opens up portals. And so sometimes, I'm not saying that this is the case in your ceremony,
Mm.
but sometimes things happen in order to prevent a certain level of opening, um, just for a deeper level of protection, because there can be sometimes, not in the case of your ceremony, but there can be times where a person that's holding space actually doesn't need to be able to access your energy in that way. And so those protective spirits will come in and make sure all is well, even though all doesn't seem well. So when you said it was a failure, I immediately heard, nah. It was absolutely divine.
I got, it was bad. Like I got all of these wounds, these
Mm.
burns. We had all of these because I was super excited. I was like, oh my God, the first ceremony that I'm attending in Dubai. They played so the guy was a shaman from the Amazon lineage, the fourth lineage or something, and he had come here to do it. And it didn't work out. Sorry, guys, I have a little bit of a cold, and I kept wondering why did this happen. But the good thing is, then later on, we had the Kayan Festival in Abu Dhabi, which is the spirituality and wellness, the number one, the largest and the first ever wellness festival happening in Abu Dhabi. So, guys, there's a lot of these spirituality things coming up in here. It's getting growing really big. So there we had a cacao ceremony, and I think the lady there who had come, I forgot her name. She was a consultant of Dr. Joe Dispenza. So she did
Mm-hmm.
a quantum healing one, and then she prayed over the cacao and she did it. So that was very beautiful. So
Mm-hmm.
probably, I did get to do it in the end.
How was that experience for you?
I didn't feel anything. Like the cacao tasted good and nice. It was just nice and warm and not too sweet, like slightly bitter. That felt good. And then we laid down. It was in this beautiful dome-like structure outdoors. The weather was nice. We were given the headphones, and she played quantum healing music with the sort of meditation. So it's the 9D breath work, quantum healing with the cacao. So it was a very magical experience. And there was a lot of inner child work, etc. But it's not like I got visions or anything, or maybe I did, I don't know. Like I usually spend a lot of time in, this is my meditation space, this is where I sit and do my meditation. So I think it was a little bit cold also at that point of time, so that was also a little yeah, but it was good. Like I can see the potential of what could happen. It was good. Yeah, it was good.
Beautiful. Yeah, cacao's a my experiences of cacao have been just a heart opening effect. Just feeling more light, feeling more grounded. But I don't like the way it tastes, so it hasn't been my medicine of choice.
Oh,
But that's beautiful.
ayahuasca tastes good.
Oh, ayahuasca tastes the worst to me. But
Yeah.
I'll say I had to start to learn to drink bitter things, and then it didn't taste as bad. But no, ayahuasca is, it's an acquired taste.
Oh, it's an acquired taste. After you get rid of all the pain, then you start liking it. Okay. All right.
It's an
That's good to
acquired taste.
hear. So, when you talk about, a lot of the times you've been talking about ancestral healing, and you did speak about how we could um, start by releasing all the trauma within you. What about ancestral healing? There's certain people that I know who say that when they were born itself, they felt this sort of They've always felt gloomy. There's something that they knew is within them. And she feels like it could be something to do with ancestral stuff. However, she's afraid of what she's going to see when she does these ceremonies, you know? So she's super
Yeah.
afraid. So, what could people like that do to just ease into this ancestral healing?
So first, I would say to become curious. I say to become curious, to know that ancestors are spirits without bodies and we are spirits with bodies. So it's not any necessarily anything to be afraid of. The only difference between us and an ancestor is we are bodied and they are disembodied. Also recognizing that a lot of I want to say a lot of, I will say some of, because these things are so varied and so layered, and I have seen so many different things happen in and outside of ceremony with people's ancestral healing. So it's difficult to give like a this is what you do.
Hmm.
What I advise my clients to do, if they are comfortable with it, is to set up an ancestral altar. If they have an altar space can literally be a candle, things that you find precious, and a photo of a loved ancestor. For mine, I've got grandmothers, great aunts, and things of that nature. And then I've got some things that I found at the old souk in Dubai, because I found it was like, put that on your altar. I've got things I found in different places. So, an altar space can just be a sacred space. It can be a desk or a shelf, whatever, if that's something someone feels called to do. And then in that, with um, with the healing aspect of it, I like to advise people to do a daily devotional. The daily devotional can be mantra, it can be movement, it can just be sitting and breathing 5 times and saying, "Thank you, I give gratitude." It can be whatever it is. But in that devotional, asking to be open to receive the guidance, the protection, the messages of whatever ancestors desire to be seen, felt, and heard. So much of this work also can be done inside of dreams if a person is open to seeing. So much of what I've needed to see, messages, the stories, the experiences of my ancestors that I've seen in dreams. And then, guiding my clients to do the same with the way that these stories are relayed is honestly, it really is freaking amazing. So, asking to be shown in a dream, but it really is just about a level of openness. Something I will also give, and then I'll break in case you have any questions about that, because I don't know how deep you want to go into that. But something I'll also give, especially if it's someone who's saying, I felt gloomy my whole life, and I feel that something is with me or within me. We have I don't. Are you into astrology?
I did try, but I think I'm getting like a little deceived here and there by
Okay.
astrology.
Okay. So what I'll give, just lightly with that, because it can even human design with our astrology and our human design and things of that nature, we're given like a karmic blueprint. The birth chart is can be seen as a blueprint for, these are the things that you were tasked to move through in this lifetime, and also showing, okay, this is some of your mother's energy that's contributed, this is some of the father's energy that's contributed, these are the challenges that you might face, these are the gifts that you might have. With that blueprint, so much of that has so much to do with our lineage, other lives as well, but a lot to do with things that happened in the lineage. What I have seen in myself and the work that I do with others there are certain storylines that desire to be reconciled within our lineages. So there would be something that an ancestor moved through but didn't quite get to finish, or a trauma that an ancestor moved through, and now this you've inherited this energy, and the energy presents itself as patterning that a person might move through. It might present itself, like you said, she's feeling gloomy. It might present itself as different emotions or different spirits. And so, as you are, until a person decides to dig deep and do the work to reconcile whatever that energy might be, then what I've seen is that they're reliving the story of the ancestor, and they're reliving these patterns over and over again. It might be showing up in different ways because, we're just in different times. But the ancestral healing, essentially, if we want to take it like away from the woo woo and just very just, what I want to say, logical and rational, the ancestral healing is the healing of the pattern. And when you heal the pattern, you heal that ancestor story. But for some people, it could require connecting with that actual spirit, having compassion for it, speaking to it, holding space for it, and allowing it to fully rest and cross over.
Okay, love that. I think I understood a little bit better of what that could mean. Love that. Let's get back into plant medicine. Are all plant medicines safe?
It depends on the person. Everything, everything operates on the spectrum. So it really depends on, I'll say depends most on a person's their mental state and their psychological state.
How can I choose a plant medicine retreat?
I would say one of the most important things to do is going to be to to vet your facilitators. Even if that requires, something that I tell people to do is, before you sign up for anything, and this is even in our retreats, because I tell people, you don't know me. You don't know me. You have no idea what I'm really about. Spend time vetting this facilitator, even if that means that you send a message, you reach out, asking them about their lineage of learning, not even from a place of, I want to learn too, but from a place of comfort. Do your own research on the medicine itself, the contraindications as well, and ask as many questions as possible about their safety measures, their safeguards. What measures do you have in place in case XYZ goes wrong? And when I say goes wrong, something to always check for is, I would say so many things coming, but I'm like, don't just give the concise thing. What matters most is that you feel safe with the people who are holding the space. Whether these people resonate with you, whether their messages resonate with you, their ideologies resonate with you, but also it's so important to be very honest with yourself about your own mental state. Plant medicine is not for everyone. People who have had trouble with things that I would say like borderline psychosis, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, these medicines could help, but in the case that that is what they're experiencing, you really want to ask your facilitators a lot of questions and ask them, what happens if I lose it? What safeguards do you have in place? Are you able to bring a person back if they start to have a manic or mental episode? And really feeling into what that answer may be, because plant medicine might not be the first thing for you, or even a plant medicine retreat might not be the first thing. So I'll leave it there. Really big on vetting the facilitators.
How do you think we can prepare for a plant medicine experience?
So, as I shared earlier, plant medicine is going to give you exactly what you need depending on where you are. So, to get the most out of a plant medicine experience, I would say get into some type of inner work, therapy work, counseling, whatever it is. If you decided this is what you want to do, and you are someone who has not ever expressed anything, who has never cried, who has never talked to someone about anything, to get the most out of your medicine experience, so the medicine doesn't spend its time just trying to get you to open up, and so that they can actually, move you through, get get a counselor. Start talking to someone, so that when you finally do go and sit with the medicine, it's not having to show you what's wrong with you. It can actually, then the medicine's going to pick up wherever you are. I'll say that. So it's best to, in preparation, to start to really get to know what your wounding may be, so the medicine can pick you up from there and help you through it, versus it having to chip away at your layers.
You had mentioned about so many different kinds of plants, psilocybin, ayahuasca, hape, etc. Can you quickly go through each of these and tell us what they are, what makes them different? Do they all serve the same purposes?
So I'll say they all work differently according to my experience. These medicines work differently. So psilocybin is the primary medicine that we use in our ceremonies. It's a mushroom. Psilocybin is psilocybin takes you out of your body. I'll say it shows you the abstract. So for people who may be experiencing I'll say, I'll just call it a trip, versus like it works differently in a ceremonial setting. But for people who are experiencing a trip, if they open their eyes, you might be able to see the fractals in the air. You'll be able to see just like the shapes that things are composed of. A lot of people speak to seeing sacred geometry. They say the same thing with ayahuasca. I'll say psilocybin, from a ceremonial healing perspective, it helps to get people out of their mind enough. Again, it is still rather abstract in the way that it works, and that it connects more deeply to the feminine principle, thinking about it brings you higher, versus connecting with the masculine would be like more physical, like a medicine like a boga would. It brings you into your body. um it brings you higher into the spiritual realms, and gives you the ability almost to like kind of look at things like this, look at things from a higher perspective in some journeys. But in other journeys, it opens people up to a different level of feeling. What I have experienced and witnessed of psilocybin is that it shows you what's there. So whether that be showing you the way that the world really looks from like a abstract perspective, or whether that be showing you what's actually inside of you. Many people have reported different things with psilocybin. And when I say showing you what's actually inside of you, it's like, if there is a lot of darkness inside of you, it reveals the truth. But it'll also show you the love. Psilocybin takes you wherever your mind goes. I'll say that, which is why it's really important to be mindful of your mental state. Whatever's back there, it unlocks it. It shows you the truth of what's really there. Hape, on the other hand, it's a plant medicine that originates in the Amazon basin. It's tobacco based. So hape can give like a psychedelic experiences depending, but it's not one that's going to take you all the way into the ethers. It has more of a grounding effect. Um, hape is done as a snuff through the nose. It goes directly up the nasal passages and into the headspace. So with that, a person might you might start to feel tingles. You might feel an intense feeling in the head, but once it goes into the head, it grounds all the way down through the feet, through the entire body. So because it's such deep earth medicine, it's made from different barks, different plants, and then a tobacco called mapacho. Hape is one that makes you want to connect more deeply with the earth, opens up presence. So anytime that I connect with hape, it's like something clears out of my ears and I can hear more clearly. It just brings you into a deeper sense of presence, but it's also a purgatory. So a purgative. So it'll go in and it'll cleanse whatever, your body doesn't want to hold, whether that be through spitting, through pooping, or through vomiting. What else did we mention? Ayahuasca is known as the grandmother. So she has an abstract effect as well, but different from psilocybin, where psilocybin will take you where your mind goes. Ayahuasca will take you where you need to go. This is a, you can look at psilocybin like a nice auntie almost that has the capacity to still show you the truth. We can look at ayahuasca as a grandmother that's like, no, ma'am, we're going exactly where you need to go. So abstract in a way to where she still takes you higher into the spiritual realms, but she shows you the truth of who you are through lessons, through teaching. And those teachings can come through visions. It can come through in just like this inner knowing. For me, she always showed me scenarios, and I would sit and actively work through the scenario as I was connected with her. And if it wasn't right, I could feel it in my body. So she's this, I'm not going to tell you the answer, but I will teach you, but I will teach you through you doing and through you finding the answers for yourself. And then Iboga, which I haven't sat with yet, what I have, what's been shared with me, it's almost the opposite of those medicines. And hape, psilocybin, ayahuasca takes you higher into the spiritual realms. Iboga grounds you into the physical. So whereas those medicines are more abstract and they kind of break things apart for you to see your reality, to bring it back together. Iboga, on the other hand, it's more linear in that it shows you the practicality of your life. It shows you who you are right here in this life, in the present, and helps you work through whatever feelings, whatever impressions, whatever conditioning you might be holding that stand in the way of you seeing the truth of who you physically are right now, here in the present. It helps you just release. Um, what I've been told is that it's a reset. It's like a hard reset to take out, to get the masks off and ground into this is physical life, get into it. This is who you are.
Wow, I love that. I think in this episode, we got a comprehensive introduction to plant medicine.
Mhm.
Thanks to you, Zenny. We got to know what plant medicine is, the different kinds of plant medicine that's available, what are some of the risks associated with plant medicine, how to choose the right retreat. Um, and you have so much wisdom and knowledge on the same. So, what I have to tell the audience, who are the listeners, is if you need advice on what to do, how to go about it, how to begin, please feel free to reach out to Zenny here. Zenny, can you please tell us where we can find you?
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at Purposefully Zenny or on TikTok, the same, Purposefully Zenny.
Beautiful.
And my website is zenoasis.net.
And then you also told me that you are in the process of writing a book, right?
Yes.
How's that coming along? And I'm super excited for that. I know you're really good with how you talk. And if you haven't checked out Purposefully Zenny on Instagram, she has a lot of followers, a lot of content, a lot of people commenting on her content. I've seen a lot of your reels gone viral as well. So you have something that really resonates with a lot of people. In fact, one of the reasons why I reached out to Zenny was because there was a reel where she spoke about how um, she was trying to do dieting, and then she was overeating because you felt not nourished at a soul level, at a spiritual level, you weren't nourished, which is why you kept reaching out to binge eating and emotional eating and so on. Once you figured that out, that it was your spirit that was undernourished, then you were able to control that. And I think that really resonated with me.
Yes. Yes. So many people experience that.
Yeah. And even recently, you spoke in your stories, you were speaking about how you are trying to take a step back from this doom scrolling. Oh my gosh. Me too. Me too.
Yes. The effect that it has on the mental. And even though I'm scrolling and there there's such a spectrum of things that I see, right? We see the things that are ha ha funny, but then in comes someone speaking negativity about their experience, and this is impossible and that is impossible and don't do this and women shouldn't do this, and I was just like, oh my god, it was like I just can't. It's like I can't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. We often talk about how there is right now a spiritual war, and I feel so tired these days, because it's like I have to fight with this Instagram, doom scrolling on Instagram, or Netflix, or trying to stop myself from eating the processed food when I go grocery shopping, or this like it's so many factors that are trying to pull our attention in, then the media and the news coming up with these new things to distract us. So there's a lot of everybody's, and when you spoke about it, the way you were feeling, it resonates with a lot of people because we are all going through this phase where we're just trying to go back inwards and stop from all of this distraction that's happening, right? So let's just recognize that this is what's happening, and it's okay to take a step back and to pause and to meditate, right? Probably we'll cut back on all of this doom scrolling. Oh, dude, did you see that? Did you see the thumbs up?
Yes, yeah.
You know
That
what?
was so funny to me.
The divine does this all the time. And I say something like when something happens, you're like, okay, guys, it's double confirmation. Like just stop back and all of this, get back, go back into the thing, and like relax and rest. And if you feel like reaching out to Zenny for any sort of healing work, she does ancestral healing, all the trauma work that Zenny's spoken about. Feel free to reach out. Feel free to get into healing, to get rid of all the trauma that's in your body, get rid of all the distractions, and let's just come back to who we are as individuals, divine and powerful.
That's so beautiful.
Zenny, do you have any final advice for us?
Final advice. I'll say one last thing, and that's just piggybacking off of the beautiful message that you just gave us, and recognizing that all of this healing is just so that we can ground into divine purpose. The trauma that's in the body, the doom scrolling, the need for external validation, fears of expression, fears of authenticity. Honestly, all of these things truly just don't matter on the grand scale of things when it comes to what we're here to do, especially as divine women, divine men, women, whomever, especially in this time. That stuff doesn't matter. What matters in this time is that we become clear enough to become vessels for the divine to speak through us and for us to listen, for us to be able to hear, so that we can start to create the lives that we desire, and to devote our gifts to the divine in ways that empower us, but then also in ways that are in service to the collective. So that's what I got.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Zenny, for coming on the Celestevolve podcast. We absolutely enjoyed having you here. Thank you so much, and I hope to speak to you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.